looks
It's
like
always a little touch and go every now and again.
every now and then, yeah. Um, but I like the way that it splits us up and just it's very
Yes.
easy.
Brings it. Yeah.
I'm gonna try and look at the camera for a lot of this, so it feels like I'm making eye contact with you, even though y'all are up here. I really need to put
Yep.
this office together. But okay, well, yeah, I think we're live. I don't know. I pressed it to go live
Oh,
like a
Oh,
minute
it's
ago.
exciting.
So welcome everyone. We're chatting here tonight. Um, we are. It's This is fun. I got two guests, Caitlyn and Mackenzie, and we
Woo.
are going to be chatting all things intentionality and being mindful. And I'm excited about that. I always love like mindfulness and just like mindsets and all sorts of things. So this is going to be
So do
fun.
we.
And but yeah, everyone, if you're watching live or even if you're catching the replay, you can drop any questions you have in the chat, and I'll bring those in whenever it makes sense. Um, but yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Okay. Well, okay. Actually, you know what? I'm going to take a quick sip,
Yes.
some ice cold
Get
water.
hydrated.
Yes. I am just constantly dehydrated, it feels like these
Same.
days.
Aren't we all?
Same. I was gonna say I have my water bottle right here.
Yep. Oh yeah. It never leaves my sight. I set it down in the other room the other day and I just turned off a light and then forgot about it. And 30
No.
minutes later, I was just like, "Where's my water? I need to find my water."
Right.
And it felt
Yes.
so weird walking around without it.
It's like your security blanket.
Exactly. Yeah. It's my emotional support water bottle.
Yes.
But yeah, well, Caitlyn McKenzie, welcome to the podcast. I'm very excited to have y'all here. This is always fun whenever I have more than one guest on at a time. It's just like it feels like a party. I mean, it always feels like
Oh,
a party kind of conversation, but this is like extra fun. So thanks for being here.
Love it.
thanks for
Thanks
having
for
me.
having us.
Absolutely. Can you give? I know y'all also have a podcast, the Intentional Podcast.
Mhm.
So y'all, I actually don't know the origin of that, but we'll get into that in a little bit. There's something new that I'm doing that you probably haven't heard. No, I don't think so. I think this next week, as we're recording this, will be the first one that someone has answered these questions. I
Okay.
stole some
Ooh.
questions. These are like a fun kind of like get to know you before we go into the whole like tell us about what you do and your bio and all of that. But for the listeners and myself to just like be like, okay, cool, I totally resonate with your answer to this question, or I disagree and I don't know if we
Yep.
can be friends. But I stole some questions from Stephen Colbert from the Late Show. He has this thing called the Colbert Questionnaire, and then I have now added my own questions into there. So I normally do like two questions, but I'm gonna have each of you pick a number between, let's see, 1 and 17, and then I will
Ooh.
ask you that question.
Ooh. Ooh, I'm gonna go first and put 14. Just because that
14.
was
Okay.
ooh.
14 for Mackenzie, 3 for Caitlin. Okay, 14. Oh, what number am I thinking of?
Oh gosh. 59.
You were close. I mean, you were off by like 15. 42.
Oh, dang.
It was up there. It was
I
not in
was
the 1
thinking, I
to
was like, it's
17.
gotta be more than 14
Yeah,
because you
yeah,
wouldn't think of 14. That'd be too obvious.
exactly. Well, I mean, technically, I guess I was thinking of 14 whenever I said it because I just said
Fair.
14.
We could debate.
Yeah. But okay, cool. I like it. Caitlin, let's see. You said 3. Okay, what is the scariest animal?
Oh, geez. Oh, a tarantula. Does
Ooh.
that count as an animal?
Yes. No, that is a serious. Yeah, that is an answer.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, no, that
Everybody's
is a
checking
scary.
their rooms they're sitting in now for
Oh
spiders.
no, I'm gonna feel
Hopefully
them
not in
crawling
the
up
mid.
my back.
Well, maybe Southern Midwest.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Any of our Aussie listeners from Australia, they're just like,
Oof.
I got my
Those
pet
things
one
are
in the other room. It's fine.
massive.
They're huge. It's no, Caitlin, I'm with you. Not a fan of spiders and
Nah.
giant tarantulas. Even less of a fan.
Ugh.
Yeah.
But okay, well,
Yes.
cool. Well, I feel like I know y'all now. So, um, give us a
Love
little
it.
background of y'all, where you're based, what you do, and all that. Yeah.
Sure. So I'm Caitlin, and I'm originally from Illinois, but currently reside in Milwaukee with my husband of almost 5 years, Jordan. We met in college. Full time, I work in the food industry, but my husband and I, we run a marketing business outside of that, aiming to help people in their family, finances, mindset, stuff like that. And then Mackenzie and I have this podcast together, which I'll let like her introduce herself, and then maybe we can dive into how our podcast came to be.
Yeah.
It's a
Absolutely.
very unique story.
Yeah, I
So
bet.
yes, hello everyone. I am Mackenzie. I was born and raised in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and that's now where I am back at. I lived in Milwaukee for a few years with my now husband of 3 years, Connor. Um, Full time, I am a nonprofit fundraiser for the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. I also am a co-host on the Intentional Podcast with Caitlin, and I have a home bakery business. So lots of different hats.
Nice. I
Yeah.
like lots of hats. I like to wear a lot of
Yes.
different hats. And someday, I
Yes.
mean, like you hear the average millionaire has like 7 different streams of income. So
Correct.
Oh yeah.
it's good to wear a bunch of hats.
Oh,
Definitely.
100%. It keeps the days exciting. I was telling Caitlin that before we hopped on here, I just finished frosting 750 mini cupcakes. So
Oh,
it was a
Loaded.
great transition.
that's a lot of cupcakes.
Sure is.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. My mom ran a bakery like out of the house for I don't know 15 years or so, and
That's awesome.
I remember some really big like iced cookie orders coming through, and just the like staying up till 3 a.m. just icing everything,
Oh yeah.
so everything is
Yep.
fresh and ready to go. And of course, I would help
Yep.
so that I'd eat all the misshapen ones.
Oh
Oh,
yes.
that's cute.
All
Yeah.
the misfits that you don't want to put with the order.
Or like the rounded cake part that you have to cut off, and just
Yes. Oh
that's the
yeah.
best part of the cake too. It's
The
just
scraps.
the scraps.
So good.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Okay, so how did the Intentional Podcast? I know this isn't the topic of the show, but I'm just curious, and I have y'all here. So, how did the Intentional Podcast come about? How did y'all get connected and start that?
Well, I'll take my perspective, I guess. Um, we were in a Dick's Sporting Goods in the shoe running aisle, and I just turned to Mackenzie and was like, "Are you a runner?" And she responded very nicely and said yes. And then we just kind of started chit chatting.
So you were
And
not friends at this point? You didn't know each
we
other?
were not.
Just
We were
just
complete
No.
random
strangers.
customers at Dick's
Total
buying shoes.
strangers
Okay.
in Dick's Sporting Goods buying shoes. Yep.
Nice.
Yep.
Okay. Very cool.
And this was only like what, Caitlin? Like 2
About,
years ago?
yeah,
Yeah.
2.5.
So still
Okay.
recent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mid
Okay.
COVID. So masks
Oh
were on.
yeah. Masks.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was we hit it off like right away basically. And I would say, I don't know, a few months later into our friendship, I was like, "Hey, you want to do a podcast together?" And we were shopping as well that time. So
Yep.
Mackenzie went along with my crazy ideas, and here we are today. So
We
Nice.
love it. We are definitely very like-minded people, and so it really made sense. And we have different backgrounds and different things to offer for our podcast. So it's been really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just
that,
kind of want to
that's cool.
to break the stigma of talking to strangers, and like saying hi and making adult friends doesn't have to be hard. And
Nice.
Mhm.
that's where we're at.
I 100% believe that, because like you see, I have three kids, and like we'll see them on the playground or something, and just like walk over to a kid we've never met, never been at this playground before, and just like, hey, do
Yes.
you want to go
Right.
play? And then they'll just
I
go play
love it.
together. I'm like, why can't we do that as adults? Why is it so
Exactly.
weird to just walk over to someone and be like, hey, you want to start a podcast together? You want to
Right.
you want to go
Why
you
not?
want to go hang out?
Do you
Do you
want to go get
also like
breakfast? Do you want to hang
coffee?
out?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And just like I love that, like breaking that stigma of it is totally cool to go do that. And it's also like I feel like we don't do that because we're just worried of rejection, and like, well, they're gonna think I'm weird,
Mhm.
and they're
Yeah.
what if they say no? What if they don't want to be my friend? Then what happens?
Right.
It's like, well, then
Yeah.
you left with the same amount of friends.
Right.
Like if you
Exactly.
ask that
As you
question,
went in with.
yeah. But okay, well, all right, that's fun. I love that story. That's very cool.
It's a good
So
story. When we
yeah,
tell it, people seem to be very interested by it.
yeah, yeah, because it's different. It's like, how often do we just, as we're shopping, especially like height of COVID, masks and everything, it was so easy to just ignore everyone, just like put your earbuds in,
Yeah.
go do your thing. And I feel
Hmm.
like even now it's just so easy to just like seclude yourself into your own little bubble as you're out and everyone's in
Hmm.
their bubbles just doing their thing, but we don't really interact with others.
For sure.
And
Yep.
yeah, and then you, Caitlin, you took the step and like just as the stranger, and now you have this good friend and a good podcast, and
Yes.
like
Yes.
so amazing, like what could come into your life if you're just open to that rejection of like, no, sorry, I'm not going to answer your question about these shoes. Like
Right.
I'm
I'm
not looking for any more
yeah,
friends right now.
no, I'm
Yeah.
good. I'm booked. We're peace out. Uh, but no, I think that's great. So, we're a little bit to kind of pivot us into the topic tonight. Um, we're talking about mindfulness. So, for y'all, like, what does that mean to be mindful? And maybe for someone who's listening, like, saw the title of this and was just like, I don't really know what that means to be mindful. What does it mean to be mindful?
Fair. I think Mackenzie, you had a good definition that I really resonated with.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like just being mindful, the first thing I think of is keeping an open mind and just really thinking through something
Mm,
before doing it, right? And that's what Caitlin and I talk about a lot is that intentionality behind things and to know what your intent is, whether it be a response to someone or an action that you take or, something that you're doing, just having that thoughtfulness of, okay, what should I be doing? What are the consequences that could come from this, good or bad? And really just keeping an open mind and understanding all of the different perspectives. Our brains are so amazing and vast, and I just think it can be very helpful if we keep those open and accepting of all the amazing things and people that surround us.
yes. Oh, I love that you said that, like open mindedness. Because for
Hmm.
a long time, I don't think I was very open minded. I felt like, well, I excelled a lot in high school, where I just like
Mhm.
I usually got A's. I was doing pretty well, and like graduated a little bit early, and felt
Yeah.
like, oh well, I know things.
Mhm.
So it kind of closed my mind a little bit whenever someone would talk about something. I'm like,
Hmm.
no, I don't think that's true, because that's not what
Yep.
I think. And then it wasn't until like actually sitting down with with a new friend, a stranger who like we just started talking about stuff, and they had a different um, different life experiences, and were sharing about their life and sharing about things. I was like, oh, Okay. Yeah, that is a little bit different. Like it kind of opened
Definitely.
my mind to see that the world was bigger than just my life experiences.
Right.
Yeah.
There's so much out there. And I think too, if we're not being mindful, we can just easily like float through life and not like
Mhm.
actually reach the goals or purposes that we have for ourselves. So I think that's just another piece of being mindful in our everyday lives.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. Kind of expand on that a little bit, Caitlin. Like, just like I totally see what you're talking about. Just like that floating through, just kind of like just looking like dead center, and just you're just wandering
Yeah.
through, almost like zombie, like just kind of walking. You're set on everything, and you're just like, okay, no, I'm good.
Mhm.
No need to learn anything else. I'm all set.
Right.
Yeah, I think you just get on autopilot in your life of like, okay, I get up, I go to work, I come home, I make dinner, I go to bed, I do it all again the next day.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
if that's how you want to live your life, like that's fine. Like you can still have a very good life that way. But I think there's just something more that we can be called to of going after those dreams that we might have had when we were kids and we put them on the back burner. And so if we're not intentionally thinking about those things, then I think we can miss out on a lot of cool things and opportunities in life.
Mm,
Mhm.
mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh no, we definitely get into ruts in life, where it is just the same exact routine. Every day is the same.
Mhm.
And for someone like who, like you were explaining that, like getting up and doing the same thing, and they're just like nodding their head in their car right now, just like, yeah, Caitlin, that's me. I do that every day. How can I get out
Yeah.
of that? Like, how can I open my mind if maybe they didn't have big extravagant dreams as a kid, or their dream was
Mhm.
to be a dog, or something like that, that's not really super attainable right now. Although I
Sure.
did see that news article of the guy who turned himself into a dog, and he
Oh
legit
my
looks like a dog.
gosh.
It's interesting. If you have not seen this, like he like had
I'm gonna totally go check
fur
this out.
implanted, and his
Oh
facial, like
gosh.
everything to turn into a snout. It's interesting.
Okay.
I'll drop a link
Wow.
in the show notes if anyone's interested. But
I
yeah,
love that.
if you don't have $100,000 to turn yourself into a dog,
Right.
and you don't like didn't have those like big aspirational dreams, what's some things that maybe people can open their minds to kind of get out of that everyday mundane cycle of the same?
Sure.
Mhm.
I mean, I think you can just maybe try doing one new thing a day, whether it's I'm going to get up at a different time or like
Mm.
just kind of nudging yourself out of your typical routine and trying a different drink,
Mhm.
like eating a different food. It doesn't have to be something like so life altering, but I think just that little switch can kind of start opening your mind to other possibilities too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I was gonna kind of bounce off that too, Caitlin, with like putting yourselves in a little bit of an uncomfy position. Sometimes it takes forcing ourselves into a new environment or a new situation of like, oh, I've never been here before. I'm going to learn a lot about myself through this experience. And maybe it'll open doors like in your mind of like, wow, I might have never wanted this before, but now I want to do this. So I love that you said that, Caitlin, because it doesn't have to be huge, doesn't have to totally change your life in a single day. But maybe you're a morning workout person and you've never set your alarm for earlier than 8 a.m. Give it a try.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I always said I'm a night owl. I am not an early bird. I cannot wake up before 8 o'clock. If there's a seven in that time, like I am
It's not
definitely hitting
happening.
snooze. And
Not seeing that hour.
yeah, yeah, like I'll wake up, and then I will turn around and go right back to bed. But like I was always that, and I think a lot of that was because like through high school and college I had a night job, so a lot of the
Mm,
times I was working evenings till 1 or 2 in the morning. So of course I'm not going to wake up at 7, because I just got home and I didn't get to sleep till
Right.
3, and like of course I'm going to
Right.
sleep till 10. That makes sense, and it's still a normal
Mm-hmm.
amount of sleep. But then once I got a a corporate job and had to be there at 8 o'clock, that all changed, and now I have kids, and I've got to get up in the 6 o'clock hour to get lunches packed and all of that. So yeah, it's like, and I feel not completely energized in the morning, but a lot more than I did whenever I first started having to wake up before 7 o'clock, where I was just,
Mm-hmm.
dragging. And now I'm like, okay, get up and I can do the things. And I think, you know, like you were saying, like those little things, just like a tiny little step. I
Mhm.
always said about myself, like I put myself in a box of, I'm a night owl. I will not wake up early. And
Mm-hmm.
of course, I wouldn't wake up
Right.
early because I kept speaking that
Said
over
it.
myself.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, until I tried it, which that was like a forced try. I had to do that for
Mm-hmm.
the job that I had.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I love that idea of like it doesn't have to be a huge monumental change to, like, it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have to be something that you're going to write about in your autobiography someday of like how you created this, amazing organization or something. It's like, no, it could just be
Mm-hmm.
you're waking up a little bit earlier, or you
Mhm.
find out that you are a morning workout person, or you
Mm-hmm.
try a new food that you once hated. Like, I
Right.
love Brussels sprouts now. I used to hate Brussels
Oh, they're
sprouts.
so good.
They
Still
are
can't get on that
delicious.
list.
Caitlin, you're like,
Caitlin's like, I am not on that train,
Not
guys.
Mackenzie and I, we know where it's at. Yeah, like
right.
good,
You know the goods.
slightly burnt, like a little bit like brown
Yes.
blackened,
Little
a
char.
little bit
Oh
of
yeah.
char. Yeah, get a little lime
So
zest
good.
on it. I learned that recently.
Ooh, okay. I
Really
was gonna say
brings out the
usually I'm like a
flavors.
balsamic glaze with some like
Ooh.
cheese or
Mm-hmm.
something. Caitlin's like, I'm having no part of this, you
Like
guys.
maybe if you put the cheese on it, that we'll try.
Right.
Yeah, little shredded parmesan or something on there. It'll
Okay.
Ooh,
it'll really bring it to
yes.
life.
So
But
good.
yeah, but yeah, like
I
that.
love what you said too. Oh, I was just gonna say, John, I
Go ahead.
loved what you said about, like in the morning and it was hard for you to adjust, but then you realized like, okay, this is kind of like who I am now. I think part of that mindfulness is when you're putting yourself in a different situation or you're trying something new, you learn
Mm-hmm.
a lot about yourself and what your capabilities are and what your preferences are. Um, and I think that can be really impactful to who we are as people, just knowing what our limits are and what we are capable of.
Right.
Oh yeah, yeah, and like also learning, um, like maybe the limits that we think we have aren't actually at that spot, and
Exactly. Bust them down.
yeah, bust down those walls. You don't have to live inside of all the walls,
I'm
because
going to
that,
get Caitlin to try Brussels sprouts, John, just so you know. We're going to
There
get,
we go. We'll
that's
break
going to be
that
her
wall.
wall.
yeah, if you cook them up real nice, like properly done, because I had Brussels sprouts, and I think that's what ruined me, because I just had steamed Brussels sprouts, and it was like,
That's
Oh,
what people
no.
say
it
all the
was,
time. It's like you can't do that.
Oh, no.
no, a lot of vegetables you can't just have steamed.
They
It's
need
just
some
like,
zhuzh.
yeah, we have seasons for a reason, and
Yes.
they are delicious. But no, I really love that idea of just like those little steps and being open minded to seeing them, because if you are
Hmm.
kind of just head down going through the motions of life in the same routine, you miss those little windows that you can open and get a
Yeah,
breeze of new life into your life. And you're just
I love that.
continuing on doing the same thing. So yeah,
definitely.
being open minded and finding those things. How can that, like, I mean, I feel like there's just like endless answers to this question, but
Right.
like, how can that change your life and like the life of those around you too?
Ooh, I'm gonna dive in just super quick, Caitlin. Sorry, because
Oh, you're
something popped to my head. So kind of an example is ever since I've been married to my awesome husband, he has widened my palate for food.
Mm.
And I think kind of that trickle effect of my family and I, and Caitlin knows this because we're very similar. We're very picky and plain eaters. But ever since I've been like, okay, I'm going to try something new, the worst that can happen is I take a bite and I hate it and I never have to eat this thing again. But at least I'm going to have the thoughtfulness of like giving it a try. And there are certain things now that I love that my family now loves because I've been able to make it for them. And it kind of just like snowballs into that community around you. And I mean, this is just a very niche example with food, but I feel like it can be anything. You know, people see you in the gym working really hard and they're like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. I want to, have a great sweat sesh like that person is right now. Or you can be so much more inspiring than I think a lot of people realize.
Oh yeah, especially
Definitely.
to others that like you've even talked to about like, oh man, you would never find me in the gym. Like
Right.
I have an elliptical machine in my house. I will just walk on that for 15 minutes. I'm good. And like you talk
Right.
to someone else about that, and y'all are, like minded, and then they see you at the gym. They're like, well, he said
Maybe
that
I
he would
should.
never do this, and now he's over there, getting ripped and getting healthy, and maybe I can do that. And I love that.
Hmm.
I see that like that your open mindedness can help open the minds of your family and your friends, and open their
Hmm.
world into a delicious cuisine of all these flavors.
Yes.
Yeah, you had mentioned like putting yourself in a box earlier, and I think
Mm.
like for so long we do put ourselves in a box of like for like me personally, I was always told like, "Oh, you're so shy, like you should like not do anything
I
creative
don't
and
know if
stuff
you can
like
see
that."
my hand. I am pointing at myself right
Right.
now. Yes. I realized that my hand was like not in frame. I was like, she doesn't know what I'm doing. But yes, no, I am
Right.
right there with you, Caitlin. I was always
Yeah,
told, you're so shy. Why don't you speak up? You're so quiet over there. And yeah, no, I identify with that completely.
right. And if you do like for so long because of that, like you're not able to then open your mind to other things that you could do. Like if I were to stay in that box, then like I would have never said hi to Mackenzie. We would have never
Yeah.
had that friendship. And so there's just all these like ripple effects that can happen when you do start opening your mind to other possibilities.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, I had Caitlin Wilcox on the show recently, another Caitlin, and we were talking about introvertedness and like how that was seen as such a bad thing. It felt
Right.
like kind of growing up in the 90s and early 2000s of just like if you want to be cool, you got to be the extrovert, and you got to go, you got to be the
Hmm.
one who's jumping up on the table and telling jokes and doing fun whatever stuff. You can't be the one
Hmm.
who sits and reads in the corner. That's not cool. and
Right.
and like I feel like we took a lot of that into adult life of,
Mhm.
well, I'm an introvert, so people aren't really going to like me.
Hmm.
I'm going to have my other introvert friends and
Yeah.
occasionally an extrovert who will like pull me in under their wing and be like, you're my new friend
Right.
now, and I have
Yeah.
decided this for you,
You're
which
like
is my wife.
drawn to all the extroverts.
Yes.
It's like
Oh,
the
Yeah.
funniest thing. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. My wife is 100% extrovert.
Mhm.
And she is that person who's just like, we are going to be friends now. And then we're just like, okay,
Yes.
yeah, we will be
I
friends.
love it.
And it's amazing. I love it. And
Yeah.
that, like, even that, like, just the open, um, being around other people who are different than me. When I started
Mhm.
hanging out with my wife before we even started dating, when we were just friends, and just being around her, and just the way that she would ask waiters at the restaurant, still to this day, just asking them like, hey, so what do you like to do outside of work, and like asking them
Yeah.
questions as if they're a real person, which they are a real person, but so many times they're just like,
Hmm.
That's
can
so
I have a
cool.
refill please, and
Yeah.
like
Right.
The end.
and yeah, and like that has worn off or rubbed off, yeah,
Yeah.
it's rubbed off on me, to where even whenever I am like traveling and I'm by myself and at some airport restaurant, I will strike up a conversation with the person next to me or talk to the waiter or whatever.
Right.
When before that wasn't even on my radar because I was a quote
Mhm.
unquote introvert. We don't do those things. We don't
Yeah.
think about
Mhm.
starting conversations. We get drawn into conversations.
Right.
So yeah, it's it's that I absolutely love being around people who are different than me,
Mhm.
um,
Mhm.
and people who had different upbringings, people who have different belief systems, and people who have like a different way of living their life. Because I can see some of the things I'm like, not gonna take this from you.
Right.
You can keep that one.
Yes.
But there's so many things that it's just like, oh, I never would have thought about it in this way, and now I can
Mhm.
take that into my life and shape that a little bit differently.
Right. Yeah.
Totally.
Well, like
One
growth
thing too
or
that
ability.
I was gonna say one thing too that I think of with, you guys and the school example and whatnot of kind of being that kid that's reading and maybe that's quote unquote not cool of like you also when you're mindful about how you react to situations, I think it's cool to see how others then react to how you reacted because maybe there's sometimes where you're like, I gotta really teach this group around me a lesson of who I am. And maybe it's me doing something that is maybe a little uncharacteristic or hard for me to do or X, Y, or Z. But whether it's demanding respect from someone or showing that you have leadership skills or being like, hey, I might be shy, but I also have a mind of my own and it's a really awesome one. And I'm not afraid to speak it when I need to. It's cool then because those people around you are like, whoa, this is a side of so and so I've never seen before.
Yeah.
I'm not going to mess with them, or oh, if there's a time and place, like I'm not crossing them. So I think you can be tactful about your mindfulness too, of like, okay, maybe I'll like just wait and keep this in my pocket, save it for a rainy day when I really need to pull this out and be this kind of person.
Yeah, I think that is a good point of like have have limits and boundaries of like don't just go out there
Yes.
and say
Yeah.
everything that's on your mind just because I'm like I'm open
Right.
minded now and I'm gonna tell you this because I've been thinking
Yes.
this for years. But like
Uh-huh.
yeah, having those boundaries and having that that kind of control, self control of
Yes, a filter almost.
a filter. Yeah, yeah, and
Yes.
I love that how because there's been so many times that there's like a friend of mine that I see do something not like quote unquote characteristic of that person. And I'm just like,
Mhm.
I love this. This is so good. Or like whenever they get into their comfort zone with you and just like start cracking
Mhm.
jokes and just, being,
That's the
excuse me,
best.
being themselves and like,
Yeah.
and all that. It's like, this is great. I love this.
Yep.
This like
Right.
do this more. Be yourself more.
Yeah.
Which I
Right.
know as Caitlin, you were probably told that as well of just being
Yourself.
introverts
Let go.
anytime.
Yeah.
No, get out of your shell more. But like, but yeah, it's always great whenever you do see someone kind of break down those walls that we put up,
Mhm.
to kind of safeguard ourselves from either rejection or just fear of not knowing what people are going to react to, or not knowing ourselves if that's really something that we want to be,
Mhm.
and just breaking down those walls and trying something new, and you might find that's not for you. um,
Yeah.
Exactly.
yeah,
It's a good way regardless, because either you find out you something you love or something you don't like and you never have to do it again.
exactly. Yeah, I love it. So for the listeners today, excuse me, for the listeners today, what's something that like maybe some baby steps that they can take to start being more open minded in their life, start to see things a little differently.
Sure. I mean, I think you could literally just sit down for 10, 15 minutes and just open your mind to what is something that you enjoyed doing when you were younger? Like, can you do that again? Or just write down like the values that's important to you. So like when it boils down to it, it's just spending some time journaling and like really getting to know yourself so that when you do go out and start applying those things, like you're understanding where it's coming from. Like it's not just sure spur of the moment is good from time to time, but like if you're not knowing what you're doing, then you can't really like Mackenzie said, know if it's something that you want to go back to because you weren't like
Hmm.
being mindful of it in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I think too, to kind of go along with that, in a sense of being open-minded and kind of accepting of all people and the things that you're doing and whatnot, don't be afraid to ask people's feedback or opinions because it's interesting to learn how someone else is viewing a situation. Caitlin and I talk about that all the time. Just when we're together, like we could be hanging out, grabbing food, shopping, whatever it may be, and her and I obviously see two totally different worlds sometimes. And it's just cool to kind of connect on where there's similarities or differences and
Mm-hmm.
just being really thankful for the other person's opinion, whether it matches yours or aligns with yours or not. Because at the end of the day, we all, um, we have these awesome brains and we should be mindful and just respect each other. And I think it's just cool to kind of see like, hey, here's how I interpreted this, or here's what I was thinking I would do. But like, what are your thoughts on this? Because I feel like as humans, we can always keep growing. We can keep learning. We can keep just absorbing knowledge. And we need each other to be able to do that.
Right. I think we can get so stuck in our own heads of like, well, this makes sense to me. So will it make sense
Hmm.
to someone else? And like you give a great point, like ask for that feedback, ask those questions because
Hmm.
your intention might not match up with what people are receiving.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we said just the other day, we were talking about like, oh, there's, that common phrase of like, oh, well, that wasn't my intention. And then you think about it, it's like, okay, well, if you're maybe a little bit more mindful and intentional before you even said that or did that, you wouldn't have to then say, oh, that wasn't my intention.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
think
Did
that's
you
definitely
even have
important
an
of,
intention when you said that?
right.
Were you just like
Exactly.
throwing words out there? Like, oh, I didn't even think
Exactly.
about how
Kind of
that
a
could
lack
be
thereof
accepted.
situation.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. No, I love that bringing people into like asking for their opinion, asking for like, how do you see this? I do that a lot with
Hmm.
like with my business and making big decisions there because I'm a solopreneur. It's just me. I don't have a board of people to bounce ideas off of.
Hmm.
So I often will ask my wife. I also have a couple other photographer friends that I'll ask them photographer related things. Um, but getting that outside opinion, because sometimes we do get tunnel vision of, well, this is how it's supposed to work, or this is how it's been working. So
Hmm.
this is the only way to do it. I can't think of anything else. And then you bring, excuse me, then you bring in someone else and uh, let me get,
Those fresh eyes can be helpful.
Yeah.
yes, yeah,
Getting a new
100%.
perspective on it.
Yeah, yeah. Just a second. I'm gonna, can I mute this? I don't want to cough with y'all.
Right. Need the little tickle in the throat.
I know. Drink the water.
Right.
Like, okay, everyone get a drink now.
Right. It's a
But
drink break.
yes,
Stay hydrated.
yes, but no, I love that because I feel like even listening to, I love the what is it? How, not how did this get made? That's a movie podcast. How I built this. Um,
Mm.
with Guy Raz. I don't know if he's still doing that show. I used to listen to it, but he talks a lot about like how people started businesses and how they came up with ideas. And a lot of times it's someone in a board meeting or someone bouncing ideas off of someone else and just being like, what do you think about this? And then they have a different opinion. It's like, I would have never
Hmm.
thought of that.
Right.
Like the reason that Blockbuster is not here anymore and Netflix is king is because
Yeah.
one of the people didn't get listened to on the board who was just like, we need
Just
to
out of
start
there.
streaming Netflix is
That's
doing this, and we need to
crazy.
start moving
Yeah.
away from DVDs. And everyone else was just stuck in
Hmm.
that mindset of DVDs. That's the way to go. Like
Yep.
we've been doing this since VHS, and we're gonna. This is
Hmm.
what people want. People want to come in and pick up movies from a store and then return them with late fees. And they,
Exactly.
yeah,
So many late fees.
so many. I probably still have late fees for Blockbuster, which
Oh
is
yeah.
why I want to go to the last remaining Blockbuster in Bend, Oregon, but I also don't want to because I'm afraid that if they run my name, they're going to be like, "So you owe
Yes.
$27,000 in late fees?"
Right. You have an
Yeah.
outstanding
We
balance.
get
Would you
that
like to pay
problem.
it today?
Yeah, I'm like, nope, just visiting, just browsing. Sorry,
Yep.
but like that that was a bunch of people who weren't open minded, who there was one guy
Hmm.
who had a different opinion and they didn't listen to him, and now there's one store left that is like really operated independently by someone else. Um, so
That's just wild. And I want to hit on too, just really quickly, the whole point of listening. I think that's part of mindfulness as well, is
mhm,
not only listening to ourselves, but listening to others and really like not just letting what someone's saying or what you're saying to yourself just kind of go in one ear and out the other, but really retaining. Caitlin and I talk about that a lot of like you listen to retain the information and not just let it kind of flow through you because that's how you're going to be able to understand better about yourself and
yes,
other people and really what you want out of what you're doing and saying. So I would definitely throw that in there too of when you're listening, definitely try to retain because that just brings your mind into whole new places.
yeah, that
Right.
intentional listening more than just like waiting for
Yes.
your turn to speak in
We
the
love the
conversation.
word intentional.
Yeah, because there's so many times that I'm talking to someone, and I'm like, I know that you're just waiting to speak.
Oh yeah.
I know that
They're
you're
just
not
going,
listening to
yep,
anything that I'm saying,
yep.
and you're just like, oh yeah, let me tell you
Great
about this
story.
thing. I'm like, okay, yeah, I will let you
Yes.
take over this conversation. I'm done.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So yeah, there's so much that we can learn and grow in just by listening to others. So
Mhm.
I love it. Well, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for coming on the
So
show. I
fun.
really enjoyed this.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we go, there's a part of the show that I like to do where we talk about what we're loving this week, and it can be literally anything. Movie, TV show, a book. Could be a new food. Trying Brussels sprouts, Caitlin. Uh, we're gonna hold you to this.
That would be
um,
great. No
I
joke.
know.
When I'm
It'll
with her
happen.
next.
It'll happen.
but yeah, what are y'all loving? Caitlin, let's have you go first.
Sure. I am loving fall.
Ooh.
But in particularly like soup season. Like I'm a big soup person. So
Oh,
It's just so
Caitlin
wrong
makes
um
eating
bomb
soup in the
soup.
summer. It just feels
me too.
weird. Yeah, as
As
soon
much as
as
I
that.
like it, I don't do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same. Yeah. What's one of your go-to soups? Like, what's a good soup that you have on the regular?
So I make this like Mackenzie probably knows what it is better than me, but it's like this tortellini spinach cream based soup.
Bow down to
Oh,
the soup queen. It's so
all of
good.
those things I like. That sounds really
Yeah.
good.
Yes.
Okay.
It's so good.
We are not quite to soup season in Texas. It is. It
Fair.
was 97
Fair.
degrees today, so
Oh,
not quite soupy yet. But we did have a little breather of some autumn air like a week ago,
Okay.
mm.
and we even my wife and I were talking about like, oh, we need to make some soup. we gotta
Yes.
we gotta get our soup recipes down and make some soup
I
soon.
love it.
You gotta love
Caitlin,
soup.
maybe you'll have to share your soup recipe with John. He can
Yep.
try it out, and
Ooh,
John can
yeah,
share his Brussels sprout recipe with you.
there we go.
Swap.
And then we all start a cooking podcast together.
Great.
Yes, I
Foodie.
love that. Stay tuned, guys.
Yes. Okay, Mackenzie, what are you loving this week?
I am loving organization. I recently got back from a big trip and I am just getting around to unpacking. So I'm finding myself also reorganizing as I'm unpacking, and I've just been really into it. My label maker's out. I'm labeling things, moving things around. It just feels good.
Nice. Are you like a like compartment type person of just like everything has like boxes and
Ooh.
compartments and all that to label, or just like closets?
I would say not necessarily a compartment, but a space. Like everything has a place and a
Uh-huh.
space. But I have not gotten into the like acrylic bins and everything in my fridge or pantry has those.
Mm-hmm.
Also because I feel like it's a big financial commitment to just go on and get
Right.
all these bins, and I have no idea like the math too. How's everything gonna fit? How is it gonna work? It's a little overwhelming. So right now I'm just sticking to the spaces.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just having a designated space for things is it's so much
Yes.
easier for picking up and putting away. Like
Oh,
yeah,
definitely.
we have three kids. There are toys everywhere, all the time.
Mhm.
And it is so much easier whenever we're just like, okay, all of the building blocks need to go in the building blocks box. And there's like a
Yes.
designated space
And then
for
they
it.
just know.
They know. Yeah, they don't always
It's
do
the
it,
way to do it.
Yep.
but they know. And then, we help them. It's fine. But yeah, no,
Learning process.
yeah, I love that. We went through like the whole Marie Kondo type
Mm.
organization thing, but like
Mhm.
our fridge right now has all the little separators and things, but
Okay.
we did
Like
baby
it.
steps. We got two separators because we were like, we know that
Yeah.
one
Oh,
will have like the
yes.
kids juices and stuff because we're constantly going through that. They know exactly where that is. They don't have to rummage through the fridge to find everything.
Hmm.
It's all right here. And then we started being like, oh, well, actually it'd be helpful to have a container for this, so then we could do that little math instead of giant equation of
That's a great idea. That'll be kind of my way of tackling it. You make a good point of just starting out small
mhm.
Right?
and then
Bring it full
expanding.
circle.
Yeah,
Start out
exactly.
small.
Yes.
Exactly. Sweet. Okay. I am loving kind of in the same weather type deal of autumn, except we don't have that yet. I am loving rain. We just had it had been a
Ooh.
little over
Yeah,
three
we got
months since we had had a proper rain, and
okay.
yesterday it just started pouring, and the kids were out like running
Love
in the
it.
puddles and like taking their toys and watching them like drift down the drain toward the sewer,
Nice.
and
Oh
it was
no.
just like it was so much fun. Like there was no lightning, there was no thunder, it was just like cold rain, and it was
Ooh,
very
that probably felt
refreshing.
good then with
Yeah.
how
Oh yeah.
warm it is.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
It
awesome.
felt weird because it was still like warm air and then cold rain, and it was just super refreshing.
Sweet.
And then we're straight back into the 90s today. But
Yes. Oof.
but yeah, I'm loving the rain. It is I'm definitely a water person. I love everything water. Whether it's like a body of water like the ocean, or if it's just raining water from the sky, it's amazing.
That's
Plus
awesome.
I proposed in the rain, so anytime it's like a monsoon of
Oh,
raining, it always makes
Stop.
us think of that night, because it was the heaviest rain.
Oh,
I
that's
still
so
have not
cool.
seen rain come down that hard and
that's
heavy.
so cool.
It was the
Wow.
entire street filled up with water, like almost to the top of the curbs. It was
Wow.
That's
it
crazy.
was so much.
Don't they
Uh,
say rain is good luck on your wedding day? So I'm sure it's also
they
good
do.
luck on the day you
I
propose.
think so. I mean, that was
It kind of goes together.
That's the
over
rule.
11 years now, so it's been good luck.
Oh,
Nice.
that's amazing. That's
Yeah,
so cool.
yeah, and we still love it. The heavy rain reminds us of that, so we love
Cool.
some good rain. But okay,
Oh, that's
so
awesome.
remind everyone of y'all's podcast, and then drop where they can connect with y'all and find you on online, and where y'all hang out.
Sure. So it's the underscore intentional podcast. And then you can find me on Instagram at Caitlyn Mentzel. And Mackenzie?
Yeah, you can find me. I'm pretty boring too. It's just at Makenzie Diffley on Instagram. And yeah, I'm excited. Hopefully we can connect and
Yeah.
find new friends.
Yeah.
Don't be
Just
scared.
say
We're
hi.
adults, but we can be friends. Just exactly.
Yeah.
Just say hi.
Yeah. Be open your mind and make some new friends.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm gonna see how many DMs you get, Mackenzie, of "Are you a runner?" and just see.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I would die. That would be amazing. I just think that's so funny. I don't know, it's kind of weird, maybe not, but I still have the shoes from that I bought that day that we met. And some like sentimental part of me never wants to get rid of them because Caitlin's one of my dearest
You're
friends now. And I'm
stuck
like,
with them now.
it's like the attachment of that memory, and I
Yeah.
don't want to get rid of them.
Gonna have to like frame them in a shadow box and put them up on a shelf or
Right?
something.
There you go.
With all of our pictures, a
Yes.
shrine of our
Yes.
friendship. Our husbands would be like, "What are you guys doing?"
That's okay. They already know it, so it's fine.
Yeah, they.
They're like, it's taken y'all this many years to put a shrine together. Okay.
Come on.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, yeah, I will have links to all those linked to your podcast and all the Instagrams, so everyone can join in and say hi and shoot you a DM. Let you all know what they thought of the
Awesome.
show and the
Perfect.
conversation.
We will.
Love it. Yeah, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for
Yes. Thank
having
you.
us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being on the show. I really enjoyed this.
Us too.
Me too.
Well, Facebook, YouTube, thank you for joining us, and I will see you
Yes.
for the next one. Bye, y'all.